Okay, so here is part 1 of 31 of my borderline personality disorder documentary series thing. Why am I doing it? It all started as a bit of therapy and counselling I was going through. I do a lot of online stuff. I'm in forums with people, and one of the things that we set about doing was going back to the start and kind of retelling our story and seeing if we still feel the same way about it as we did when it was fresh. So effectively this series will take you all the way back to 2008, 2009, and it's going to go all the way through to, well, now. So why have some of us decided to do this? As I've said, one point of view is the fact that we potentially don't look at things the same anymore, and it's quite healthy to retell the story all these years later and realise what we thought was life-ending and tragic and the worst thing ever back then is now not. Another reason is kind of bored. I kind of wanted a project to work on again. So I used to make a lot of YouTube videos, used to do the free running and beatboxing, and I wanted something to kind of do that's not just playing Xbox and watching films. I picked October because October is my birthday month. My birthday's almost bang in the middle, it's on the 13th, and I just thought, turning 30, this is a good window to just get it all out, tell my story, be heard, and then put it behind me once and for all and move on. Another reason is recently some stuff went down that was quite unfair on me, and once again there's been a complete bullshit retelling of the story, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to put the truth out there. It's happened a few times before, and now that it's happened again, there's just too many points in my life where I have been made out to be a bad guy, or I've been really, really good to someone that has decided that I wasn't. So this series is going to touch on some dark stuff. I want to bring a load of the light stuff in as well, kind of what I've learned through counselling, what I've done in therapy, and kind of how I've evolved as a person to who I am now. I'll be trying to keep the top of the screen clear for pictures and screenshots and videos and other things to kind of add to what I'm saying down here. But yes, I'm very excited to go on this journey with everyone. I'm excited to finally tell my full story. There's going to be a lot of secrets shared that I have never told anyone before. There's going to be a lot of information that only my inner circle knows. I want to try and help people with mental health, so I am saying my bit to try and encourage other people to say their bit, if that makes sense. I also want to help people that don't have mental health in terms of how should you support a friend or a family member that does have something not quite right with them. But I think above all, I've finally reached a point where I'm not ashamed of my past anymore. I've kind of learned to accept it's part of my story. So I'm putting all my cards on the table for the first time. I should have done this a while ago, but I didn't. So basically, strap in, get ready, it's going to be an adventure. Every single day of October, another part of the puzzle will be revealed. And for the first time on the internet, considering that I have been a YouTuber, a TikToker, a Viner, you know, for the first time, the real me is coming out. Let's do this. Part 2, my GCSE years. So my GCSE years weren't too bad. I actually got pretty good grades by the end of it. It wasn't the hardest part of schooling by a landslide. I went to quite a snobby school full of very egocentric people, and I didn't really fit in, but I'm so glad that I didn't fit in. I had my small group of friends, and that's all I really needed, and I loved them to pieces, and we just got on with it. I think one of the craziest things that, looking back on, I still can't believe I got away with and most people didn't know, was I was a very different person inside school to who I was outside of school. I'd learned to be very quiet and very reserved in school and just head down, get on with the work, didn't do anything stupid. Outside of school, I was a very different person, and it's where a lot of my scars and silly things on my body have come from. I got in a lot of fights. Never chose to start them, but always made sure I could finish them. I think effectively because I didn't really know who I was and what I wanted and all of this stuff, I kind of just latched on to people that I thought could show me the way. And it just so happened that a lot of the people outside of school that didn't make me feel alienated, that were there for me, that made me feel seen. I don't really like the word gang, but effectively they were a gang. I ended up kind of part of what they were doing and getting involved in stuff I shouldn't have been involved in, and the whole time a lot of us were using free running as a cover for what we were doing. I think this is an important part of my story because people are already going to hear this and go, well, he's a bad guy then, isn't he? He's an ASBO child, he's, you know. I didn't fully understand what I was doing until it was too late, but people had got hurt because of what they were doing. And as I grew up with these people, I kind of rose to this position of being able to look after them and changing who they were. And we went on this kind of route of, let's stop hurting people, let's make sure people that we love don't get hurt, let's improve our lives, let's prove everyone wrong that they've now got this view of who we are, let's get our lives settled and steady. So I started knuckling down more at school. So by the end of my GCSEs, I was laughing because people that I was going to school with had no idea who I was outside of school, and in a way the people I was with outside of school wouldn't have believed me if I told them the kind of person that I was in school. So I think mentally I'd already made this split in my mind of I was very much Tim at school and I was Scars outside of school. The weird combination of the two, Timmy, he didn't even exist yet, but this whole time something was festering up there that I didn't know, no one else knew, and it kind of was left for too long, and that's coming up. Part 3, misdiagnosis. So last time we got up to kind of the end of GCSEs. As I was going into A-levels, this is where things started to change. As I said, in my head I felt like an outcast, but realistically I had my group of friends at school. There were huge numbers of people in my year group that I didn't particularly want to be friends with anyway, so it worked out really well for me. But I couldn't help but feel that something wasn't right, and it was actually my sister who did psychology that was looking at me going, I think you should go and get looked at because something isn't right with you, and I can tell. So she actually came with me to the doctors and I did a little questionnaire thing and got diagnosed. However, my diagnosis was wrong. What they caught was effectively a symptom, not the main big bad boy. I don't know how to refer to BPD, but they didn't get it. So I was diagnosed with high-level depression and medium-level anxiety. Interestingly enough, they actually tend to come as a pair. One causes the other, one makes the other worse. It's interesting looking at which one came first and what caused what. To me, I think my depression came first, and then the anxiety kind of manifests around the idea of worrying that people are picking up on your depression and how you're acting, and it can happen the other way around where you've got anxiety, and because anxiety stops you living your best life, the depression kicks in. But yeah, they effectively found one branch at the top of the tree, which was the depression and anxiety side of borderline personality disorder, and they started working on that. Little did we all know that underneath the root was still there, being completely overlooked. But I ended up in weekly counselling sessions through CAMS, and it was kind of cool. It was interesting to kind of like work on how I'm viewing myself and how I'm viewing the world, and kind of tweaking the damaged bits of my brain to not be so negative and not be so pessimistic. My anxiety did actually used to be quite bad in a way, and that was the quickest thing for me to cure because it was only medium level. I kind of got more confident. I got more like, don't care what people think, I know I'm not quite right, but it was important to overcome that hurdle of I've got to live my life and not let anxiety stop me. The depression was harder because it was stronger. I had said to myself in these sessions, I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can, and I'm not going to lie about things because I want to get better, but I also decided I didn't want antidepressants. And that's not a dig at anyone that is on antidepressants. I just thought in myself, I want to learn how to beat this as me. I want to be taught how to get my brain working properly, not be numbed up. I kept a diary and was advised to retell events once from my point of view, once from someone else's point of view, to try and get my brain to understand maybe how I think things are happening weren't happening. I was told in certain situations to picture the worst case scenario, right up here, picture the most nothing outcome, and then realise the actual outcome was normally close to here. All of this that my brain's worrying about never ever happened. So there I was with my diagnosis, with my counselling sessions underway, very happy that I'm getting better, everything's going to be okay. But that's the problem when you trim a little branch at the top of the tree and don't cut down the main trunk, is it's still there. And that affected a load of my relationships. So next episode I want to talk to you about relationships. Part 4, relationships. So I'm not going to give you an entire breakdown of every single relationship. but I will go into detail on some of them that maybe were mentally damaging to me, maybe didn't go the best way they could have because of mental health. And also the fact in so many ways I attracted the wrong type of people because I was in very good shape. I was a free runner, I was a gymnast, I definitely had people that liked me for my body, and then got to know me and realised I was a very broken human being. So I'm going to start at the start of my grammar school life, year 7, 8, 9. Two of my shortest relationships were 3.5 days and 4.5 days. I don't blame them because I genuinely didn't even know what to do with a girl. I was scared, I won't lie. My longest relationship is still hilarious to this day. My longest relationship was with a girl that kind of went on her own journey of self-discovery and kind of turned lesbian and then back to kind of bisexual. So I ended up ending the relationship being like, something didn't quite feel right, and then a few weeks later she comes out with it all and it's like, that's why something didn't feel right. But like I said, some of them were actually quite damaging. I was on and off with a girl for 7 or 8 months. We didn't stay together longer than like 1 month and 3/4, 2 months at a time. We'd have a proper fight and fall out, and then get back together, and then go again, and then rinse and repeat. And it was always her. It was always like the silliest things to argue over, and then go all the way to the extreme of breaking up over. And I'm just like, okay. I think on our final breakup, we both just went, we are not good for each other. Like, I can't do more than I'm doing for you, and you still find things to get annoyed and upset over. It was after splitting up with her that I went down that route of definitely going after the wrong girls again and again and again. Being a free runner, I quite liked being topless a lot of the time. I was quite proud of the body that I'd got myself, so girls liked following me around. I always had this little giggly fan club that like wanted me to do tricks and wanted to ask if they could film and where I'm going next and if I'm doing it again tomorrow and where I'd be. And I ended up getting with a girl that herself, she wasn't the toxic one, it was her friends. So because she went to a different school in a different town, I couldn't see her for the bulk of a school day. I literally would walk into town and meet her off the bus and walk her home, and that was our interaction during the weekdays. And then I specifically said on weekends, I don't want to take you away from your friends. If you've got plans, don't cancel them for me. If we have to plan something months in advance, then we will. So we were together for a bit, and her friends, a lot of her friends did not like me, even though the furthest we ever went was kissing. I have a good heart, I have pure intentions, but they did not see me that way. And I guess one day her friends convinced her to split up with me, and we still met up after school, and I walked her home. It was really uncomfortable, like she wouldn't talk to me, she wouldn't hold my hand. I felt rubbish. So we kind of split up through text that evening because it was just messed up, and then her friends started attacking me through other messages over the next few days. And I was like, look, just drop it, we're not together anymore, it's done. You kept accusing me of taking her away from you. I literally met her in town, walked up to her house, and that was it. We didn't get to do anything. Over one girl, I lost an entire friendship group, and that happens a lot. As these videos progress, you will see how many times that has happened to me. But effectively, the next girl that I was with, we were never actually official, but we were making out a lot. But we were a lot different from the girl before because we did stuff as a group, all the friends were involved, we were always hanging out. We happened to be together during like a summer holiday. This was the end of my GCSE years, just before my A-level years. But looking back, I'm wondering if that was definitely love, because again, the problem with borderline personality disorder, which I will get onto a video really deeply explaining it, we latch onto people. We fall for people really easily. And I think the ending of this relationship does go down to borderline personality disorder, because even now I can't fully remember exactly how it went down. I know how the one before ended. This one was like an argument and a fallout, and me basically saying just never talk to me again. If I remember rightly, she promised that she was going to meet me somewhere, and then she'd actually gone off with a group of her girls to the city, and I was sat there like an idiot waiting for her, and then found out like a whole hour later where they actually were. She then didn't reply to me all day, and I'm wondering, are you even coming back? It's not being funny, I could just go home and jump on the Xbox or go and do something else. And I think it was actually one of her friends that replied to say, oh, we're literally getting the bus back in a minute, don't go home, like she wants to see you. And then again, several hours passed, and it was a really frustrating day. And I guess I just suddenly felt like we're not being honest with each other anymore, and you're just messing me around, because that sucked. And that in a way is the most depressing thing, that my last relationship in a way wasn't actually a relationship because we were never official, and that was going into my A-levels. Through my 2 years of A-level, my year at uni, my 7 years of my job back in Buckingham, and then moving here, and then since I've moved here, I haven't had a relationship since. So if I've got to put a year to that, would that be 2012? 2012 was the last time I've had a relationship. Not through lack of trying, as upcoming videos will show. So where I couldn't love others, I learned to love myself and take myself to happy places. So next episode, I want to talk to you about happy places and kind of those mental barriers that I've been able to put up and places I take myself to de-stress myself and to make my mental health not rubbish.
Part 5, Happy Places.
So as I said at the end of last episode, it was important for me to discover my happy places and what keeps me calm, what stops me spiralling. Happy places is an interesting one because a lot of people turn to alcohol and drugs. I'm quite boring. I don't drink. There's no alcohol I like. I love a can of Monster now and then, brilliant, and I can't stand the smell of weed. It's like cat piss. So my main happy place through my GCSEs into my A-levels was free running and parkour. I loved it. I did it all the time. I even had a crew doing it. We had YouTube videos going out all the time. I honestly loved it so much. We pushed ourselves to the absolute limit and we taught ourselves tricks and we just went for it, and oh boy did we pick up injuries. But being out and about doing flips and tricks was just the best feeling. To the point it sucked when the weather turned rubbish and we couldn't go out. The other one that I used to do a lot of, and I still kind of do in my spare time, just not as much, was the thing that got me my Little Mix follow, my tweet, meeting them. I used to be a beatboxer. All the time, all you could hear throughout my entire house. I can't believe I failed the water drop at the end. I ain't done that in a while. So that's where my YouTube channel Beatbox PK123 came from. It was the beatboxing, it was the parkour, and then it was a 1-2-3, just because, why not? I think because of beatboxing and stuff, I was also very into music, and I still am, and it was one of the strongest therapies I've done was music therapy. And if there is a song I ever associated with negative energy and negative emotions, was to reprogram my brain and make the song link to another memory or another emotion. So whenever I'm walking anywhere, it's music in full volume and just yes. I was asked recently what music I'm into, and I'm like, not what normal guys are into. I love my Little Mix, I love my Fifth Harmony, I love anything that Team Star Kid's done. Back when I was Tim at school and Scars out of school, Scars was very much into N-dubs. Other than that, anything that's kind of not sounding too rubbish, got a nice beat to it. I definitely went through my dubstep stage like a lot of us did. I think the other one similar to music is film and TV. Like, I'm such a film and TV buff, like I love watching things. I love kind of linking, oh, I've seen that actor in that, and those two have worked together in that before, and this director also worked with him and they both went and did that. I'm very into my Harry Potters, my Marvels, my Pirates of the Caribbean. Not as much DC, but DC do better series. Like Gotham is an amazing series. Wonder Woman 1984 is not a particularly amazing film. But through music and film and TV, I also fell in love with gaming. I remember being little and getting my PS2 and then GameCube. I remember playing on my dad's SNES quite a lot. Went through like Nintendo Wii, Nintendo DS. I've actually got a DS Lite, a 3DS. I love my Switch. The Switch don't get enough kind of like people talking about it. I love Animal Crossing, got me through COVID lockdown, that's for sure. And as people know, my main one is my Xbox. I love my Xbox. I think what I love about Xbox is the social side of it as well. It's not just the games, it's the people you can meet on the games, the people you can go on to be friends with. One of the main guys I play with, we met on Sea of Thieves, and we've gone on to play Grounded, Payday, GTA, Call of Duty, Enlisted, Fall Guys, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I was trying to convince him to get Quidditch, he's trying to convince me to get Gears of War. We're both into Assassin's Creed, and there's no good Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed multiplayer sucks, they never did a good one. But now it's been good for me to have all these different things that I'm into, and my mum knows that I have those days where I just want to shut myself away and just play games, and that's okay. If I need to do it, I can come out tomorrow so much better. Luckily I'm quite an outdoor person as well, so I know that I need that balance, so if I do spend a day playing Xbox, I will try and then the next day maybe put my earphones in, go for a walk. Or at least get physical. Like, there's always something that needs doing, so like my mum can't move heavy furniture around, so I have to do it. She can't reach high things, so I have to do it. But going back to what I was saying before about energy drinks, I did unfortunately go through a bit of a spell of energy drink addiction. We're talking like 4 a day easy, and I used to like Rockstar, and I still love Monster. Every so often I will treat myself to a Mango Loco. But I used to have multiple a day, multiple days in a row, and it used to build up. Some of the rubbish in energy drinks is worrying, but honestly I still drink Mango Loco at weekends if I fancy one. I haven't had one in a while, but I'll probably have one now I'm thinking about it. But the list of things that I had that I was into that made me happy meant I had positives to focus on, and I always had places to go. to bring myself back. Still at this stage did not know what borderline personality disorder even was, but I couldn't help but feel that something was not right. So here I am, about to go into my A-levels. I'll tell you all about it next episode. Part 6, A-levels. So for my AS and A2 levels, we're talking 16, 17 and 18 years old. First thing that's a bit sad and depressing is I was single all the way through my A-levels. I had got myself to a stage as well where there was a lot going on outside of school. So I'm very much trying to be Tim in school, and I'm trying to do well and I'm trying to behave, just focus on what I'm supposed to be doing, get my work done. Outside of school I was scars and stuff was going down all the time. I still kind of looked for love, I guess, but wasn't particularly considering it a priority. So I wasn't like really trying, I was just kind of half-arsing, and that's why I didn't get any love for years. By the end of my year 12 year, my AS year, I almost got kicked out of school. I was sat on CDUU. That is terrible. There was a girl that cried because she only got an A. She got A stars in all the mocks and all the practices. I remember seeing her in a state over an A when I'm sat on CD and 2 U's. A U is not even a fail, a U is ungradable. It was, I had submitted a piece of shit and said, mark this. The reason being, I could not concentrate. I could barely sleep at night. My brain was firing like a motherfucker during the day. Based on work that I'd been submitted, based on work that all the teachers knew I was doing, based on what the head teacher knew about me, they had agreed to help sort out the resits during the start of the next year. They said, you can progress up to A2, you have to resit these and you have to get at least these grades. And that meant extra lunchtime and break sessions and out of hours work to catch back up. So it was around this time that I was obviously saying to my friends, look, not being funny, you need to get off drugs, we need to stop these fights going down, I need to stop finding out the hard way that people are getting hurt. So I ended up dropping maths because maths sucked. GCSE maths was brilliant, but A-level maths honestly just... I did a lot of extra work in my other subjects. I was also doing psychology, philosophy and ethics and media. So dropping maths meant I had a lot of fun, because even as an atheist I really enjoyed doing philosophy and ethics. Psychology obviously for someone like me was brilliant, and media was just... I've always had that side of me that likes like YouTube and TikTok and Vine and all of that stuff, so media was just like... Sometimes we were freerunning, we used to make little short films. I remember making a short film called Run. That was hilarious. Somehow by the end of my A2 levels I pulled it back to 3 C's. Again, at the kind of school I went to and the kind of people I was with, that was considered not very good. But I did not care, because to my understanding that was enough to get into uni. And I think that's part of the problem that my old school used to cause, was they pretty much drilled it into you that to succeed in life you have to go to uni, and if you don't go to uni you're a failure. But hey ho, I'd done it. Or so I thought. Part 7, Uncertain Future. So my A-levels were done, I was just waiting for the results. Fingers crossed, hopefully everything's going to be alright. No. So if I remember this right, it was before I even knew what results I had got, that I had already got a message through the website for my primary university choice. Sorry, you haven't made it in, best of luck with whatever you do in your life, blah blah blah. And I was like, what? And then when we went into school to collect our results and I opened it up and saw that I'd got my 3 C's, I was like, well, that's good enough. I can't remember what the point, because it was to do with points. A was worth this amount, B was worth this amount, C was worth... So because I got 3 C's, I had got the points I needed for most of my choices. Because I guess because my mum's a teacher and my sister was a teacher, I wanted to be a primary school teacher, so I was trying to get on a BA Hons primary education course. My GCSEs had already set me up beautifully for that. I smashed my GCSEs. And I hadn't heard anything from any of my other unis, and I realised this was because of, for some reason, the website, I couldn't do anything. The website, it was all updated through the UCAS, we were just passengers. I remember messaging my second choice to be like, I've already found out that I haven't made it into my first, and I'm not sure why, because I got 3 C's, I got this amount of points. The website's not showing it, and I don't know if that's what's caused an issue. And there was a few days that I was in a right state, because obviously I'm like, what do I do if I can't get into uni? At the time, I was pretty confident teacher training is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher. What happens if I can't? My life's falling apart. So I had got myself into a really bad state of panic and worry and unsure what to do. Luckily, a few days later, my second university choice got back to me and said, we've looked it up on our system and we can see that you've got the points if you would like to come here. And all of a sudden I was just like, oh my god, yes please, yes please, yes please. And then UCAS themselves got hold of me to say, we're working on the issue, please don't panic, everything's going to be okay. So it was a weird one looking back, because I remember I was crying because I said to Mum, what happens if none of the unis want me because they reckon I haven't got in, even though my points reckon I should be in, unless it happened to be a year that everyone else was getting A's and B's and there wasn't enough space for someone like me that got 3 C's. So I kind of stopped there. My second choice wanted me, I wanted my second choice. My first choice had already said no. And then there was an interesting moment down the line where my first choice got hold of me and said, oh, we haven't heard back from you, are you coming, because we know that we're your first choice. And I was like, hang on a minute, you specifically got hold of me to say I haven't done well enough. And they were trying to say, no, we haven't. And I'm like, I've got the email, I've got the proof. So I almost found myself getting angry with them again. Didn't know what BPD was, didn't know that I had it. But they had triggered something in me that was like, hang on a minute, this is stupid. You're now calling me a liar. You straight up told me that I haven't got in, I haven't done well enough, and now you're asking if I'm coming. I'm like, no, I've gone for my second choice. Like, I was quite excited because my second choice was by the sea, and for some reason I think it obviously had become my first choice after how my first choice was so quick to be like, oh, you haven't done good enough, have you? Rather than realising, well no, the UCAS website reckons I've got 0 points because it hasn't uploaded any of my data. So there I was, finally sure again after being so unsure, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to uni. That's going to be great. I'm going to end up with a career in teaching. I didn't end up with a career in teaching. I dropped out at the end of my first year, and that is coming next episode because what a year that was. Part 8, University. So for obvious reasons, uni was an interesting one, because I was off to my second choice, not my first choice, but I'm sure that it was the right choice to make. Now, because I'd gotten in so late, I had missed out on a slot in halls. What I did have was access to a shared house with the most mixed up bunch of people ever. Luckily, one of my housemates was on the same course as me, so we got on really well. The other girl in my shared house wasn't too bad, but I definitely didn't click with her as much as the girl that was actually on my course. And the final housemate was a bellend. We lived next door to our landlady, and he was throwing parties, and he actually disappeared halfway through the year and then stopped paying the rent, even though the agreement was you pay until you can get a replacement, because he was still using it as storage. So even straight away throughout that year in this shared house, there was already such an adventure. It's the kind of thing you see on TV. We were just 4 people that shouldn't have been put together that were put together, and there was clashes, and it was brilliant thinking about it. Other than the fact the house was so old and it was so cracked that, like, when the wind was blowing outside, my posters were flapping inside, and there was a bit of a smell of damp through the wet seasons that we had to learn to get on with. But in terms of uni, there I was bricking it, but I was at Freshers Week. It was tough just before that, because I remember saying goodbye to the dogs. Like, the dogs had always been a part of my life since year 4-ish. We had mummy dog and daddy dog, and then they had 4 baby dogs, and we kept 1 baby dog, so we had a biological family of mum, dad, baby. Saying goodbye to them to go to uni was tough. Freshers Week, met a girl. I really thought she was a vibe. She was from Essex, and she was just a nutter. So I'd already decided I really like her. I was just like, wow. Always looked forward to seeing her, but that was very one-sided. I don't think I've ever worked so hard to try and keep someone in my life as I have with her. She was the champion of ignoring messages and leaving people on read, even though her phone was always in her hand and we weren't on placement yet. So yes, there was reading to be doing, there was certain lectures to be attending, and then huge chunks of the day dead. I had shown interest in her, I'd been so nice to her, but man, it was so rare to actually get a reply from her. But then we went through this weird stage of she was kind of suggesting that we could still be friends, but just like in secret. So I was like, what, you're ashamed of me or something? So I found that all really tough, and in the end I kind of arrived at the decision to be like, I guess we would be bottom level friends in terms of we're on Facebook, we know each other, but I'm not sure I want to keep talking because that hurt. Meanwhile, somehow, the little group of friends that I did have at uni, there was a girl in that group I'd somehow managed to never actually speak to properly. And when I actually then sat next to her and started talking to her, I realised she's kind of cool. And I found that me and her were opening up to each other quite quickly, and she had some stuff go down in her past. I said about the stuff that I've already had go down in my past. And over this short period of time, we'd really gelled as friends. And then I made a mistake. I admitted to her that I liked her, and she went straight down the route of like, oh, I don't want to date you because I don't want to ruin our friendship. In my brain, I'm like, we've literally known each other a couple of weeks, like, we're still building this friendship now. that's kind of the point when a guy starts talking to a girl, you know what I mean? And then this whole horrible thing happened with, she was after this other guy, but only to mess around with, not to actually get serious with him. She literally admitted to me that she just wanted to kind of tease him and then make him leave. And because of how excited she had got him, they went all the way, and she didn't want to go all the way. So then this all escalates to her crying to me, being like, I didn't want him to hurt me like that, I didn't actually want to go all the way. And I'm just like, the problem with telling me this story is what you told me just before this. She had straight up told me that I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't tall enough, she prefers like 6-foot military guys, I'm a bit scrawny and a bit too weak. So the fact that she had then told me this story about this guy, I'm the wrong person to, I wouldn't have done that to you, I would have loved you and really been protective of you, but I'm not good enough for you. So I'm like, in 1 year, 2 different girls had really made me feel like shit. And as it was, the most amazing feedback I got from uni on my assignments was, you're too creative. I'm training to be a primary school teacher and you're telling me I'm too creative. Primary school teachers are supposed to be creative, they're supposed to inspire the next generation of doctors and lawyers and astronauts and all that. I also had a terrible placement in Portsmouth, and the school was rough, the teachers were rough, and I just went, our mentor was so unsupportive and didn't actually help us tick off what we were supposed to be doing. So on 2 accounts, I'd failed the year. Now Timothy, what you could do is you could resit. No, I'm not resitting. I'm going to go home, get a job. Screw everyone, screw this place, I'm done. So there I am after an emotional phone call to my mum saying, would you be ashamed of me if I drop out and come home? And she's like, absolutely not, you've got to do what you want to do in life, we'll always love you, we'll always support you. And I'm like, I'm coming home. I am a university dropout. Woohoo! I'll tell you all about dropout life in the next episode. Part 9, dropout life. So yeah, there I am, travelling back home after failing university, whilst also having my heart ripped out by 2 different girls that I tried so hard with. It's crazy that one thought was about the school that I came from, being like, I can't let them know. With it being drilled into us all the way through GCSEs and A-levels that we have to go to uni, you must go to uni, otherwise you are a failure, and there's no point going to such a prestigious grammar school if you're not going to do university and go and be a doctor or a lawyer and earn 6 figures plus. And I'm sat there going, I don't know what to do with my life other than I did not want to be at that university anymore. So I remember having these conversations with my mum and my stepdad, like, what are my options? What do you think I should do? And they were like, it's up to you, it's your life, it's your choice, we'll support you, but you need to make that decision, no one can tell you what to do. So I was again in a bit of a state, because I'm just like, I need to start earning money. I've now got a year of student debt to pay off, I've got no future, I've got no job. I was devastated to be back home, kind of like having been so excited in a way to move out and progress, that I've kind of gone back to, oh no, I'm back at home and I don't know what to do. So this was a stage in my life where I was lashing out quite a lot, because again, my sister being my sister was so quick to be like, stop being the family disappointment, do something with your life, you can't just leech off of mum. Meanwhile, I had signed up to job seekers allowance and was asking around and was desperate to find kind of any work I could. I think my self-esteem at that stage had got so low as well, because I'm sat there being like, most of the friends that I thought that I'd made at uni turned out not to be friends, and they weren't replying anymore. The damage to my head and my heart was done by 2 girls, one saying that, you know, we can only be friends in private and secret because she was ashamed of me or whatever, and the other one straight up telling me that I'm not tall enough, not muscular enough, not good looking enough for her. So I was knocked down several rungs of the ladder and really kind of not in a good mental space. I was trying so hard to remember the therapy and the counselling, remember to put my music in, remember just to breathe, but I knew the clock was ticking and I needed a job fast. So at least I had that bit of motivation in my brain to be like, we are going to get you sorted, Tim, don't you worry. But it was tough, because as the weeks went on, I had more and more people from uni not replying to me anymore, because I had dropped out just at the end of the year, which meant they only had the last day into that last week, which I think was just partying, it was celebrations. And I remember saying to one of the lecturers, I've got nothing to celebrate, I failed assignments and I failed the placement, so no, I'm going home early if that's alright. And they're like, yeah, we understand. I knew the people that I was messaging were free, because I remember being involved in conversations about holidays and, oh, we're probably not having a holiday between first year and second year, just going to go home and just relax. So I felt like so much progress had been made and everything had just been knocked back. Luckily, a friend of the family worked in a factory that tended to go off of that kind of scheme of recommendations rather than publicly advertising jobs, and she managed to get me an interview. This is about to get very interesting next episode. The next few episodes are really where big changes happened. So strap in, guys. Tomorrow and the day after are going to be nuts. Part 10, first job. Should I do this episode just like handheld and just kind of spin? Maybe. Not knowing what to do with my life and coming home from uni like, ow, I'm a failure. Kind of like, yeah, that all got a little bit better when I started my job in plastic manufacturing. Friend of the family had got me the interview. I'd gone to the interview. It wasn't really an interview. I had a quick tour and the guy kind of said, don't you think you're overqualified? And I'm like, I need money. So are you sure you're not going to get bored? And I'm like, I need money. I'm a uni dropout. I need money. Started working in injection moulding and stayed there for 6-7 years. But it's weird how at times people say that university is the best years of your life and get ready for that. Because for me, it was these few years, the first few years working at this place were the best years of my life. Because I was contributing to society, I was earning money, I was away from the toxicity of uni. I'd got myself in a really good mental headspace where I wasn't even thinking about these girls anymore that had screwed me over. I think it helped as well that they realised that I'm quite intelligent, so I had a lot of responsibility quite early on. I was doing little bits of technician training. I knew quite a lot about the machines and how to fix minor problems. Because of my more autistic side and my data gathering and handling side, like, they knew that they could come to me in the mornings and I'd already done a rundown of all the machines, what's going on, what's going well, where are we, how much till we turn the tool over, you know. So I was just cracking on with it and really actually enjoying working there, to the point I did quite a lot of overtime. We had optional weekends, had a little chart you could fill out. Here's the machines we want to run over the weekend. Put your name next to it on the A shift, B shift or C shift. Honestly, as a first job, it was great. I'd made some really good friends there. I felt confident. I felt comfortable. I'd even managed to get one of my friends a job there, and there was this timer that we were working together that was just hilarious. I've got to stop spinning, guys. I'm going to put you down on the stand and set up to do the rest of this, not like this. What is that? Go away. So yeah, the job was going brilliant and everything just was good. But yeah, for the most part, my mental health was absolutely fine, and I almost thought because I had done bits of therapy and counselling leading up to this, I was on top of it. No one had to know. It wasn't until the second half of my kind of 6 or 7 years there that things started to change. So this is the one. This is where I said before about these episodes. This next episode is, well, it's the first time things got incredibly tough for me, and there's a huge moment of just wow.
Part 11, department change.
So there I am at a job that I was really enjoying and surrounded by people that I got on with, that I hadn't actually been honest with about my mental health but didn't think I needed to be. And then the managers made a few decisions that weren't great for us. My little team that were doing optical components, our machinery and tooling, all the job was going to the Czech Republic. So naturally there was this idea of, are we being made redundant? Are we done? They did reassure us that no matter what, they'll keep hold of us, they'll find jobs for us. Other departments always need help. But I felt really bad because I got Callum the job there and then couldn't then be with him because I was moved over to one of the assembly teams. Callum stayed in mould shop. I felt good because I was specifically handpicked by one of the big directors at the top to start a new production line. We had a contract coming in, we had a new part to make. So I was working with the process engineers to kind of help mature the jigs, get everything ready. We were kind of getting out prototype parts and trying to work out how we go forwards, how do we do this more efficiently. So again, they saw my usefulness, they saw my intelligence, and I thought, well, I'm actually working with a team of people to bring something into the company, to bring in business and money. But then another one of the directors that in simple terms was a fucking douchebag, and I'll tell you why after this bit of the story. He wanted me to go and work on this other line at the same time. He kind of went, oh, it's just to help them out, it's nothing permanent. Meanwhile, whilst I'm helping this line out, they bring in 3 people to replace me on this line. And then he kind of came to me and goes, oh, because you've worked so hard on this one, we're going to leave you on this one now, and that one not. And I'm like, that's the one that I was specifically handpicked to do. And then the huge event that made me lose any remaining respect I had for him went down. When my aunt, who was my dad's sister, passed away, I had put in a request to go to the funeral. My immediate supervisor had authorised it, and then this guy higher up had rejected it, looked me in the eye, asked me what it was for, found out it was for a funeral, and said, I don't care, you're not going. Purely because the customers were going to be coming in that day, and I needed to run the welder apparently, because no one else could, even though the process engineers all could. That was my first little instant of, I don't think I want to work here anymore. If he's working here, I don't want to be here. But as it was, I got on with my little team on this assembly line. We moved up the building, we got things slightly more ironed out. I think that's one of the other major problems, is we were still in prototype stage. We were promised the jigs would be matured. You know, everything that I was doing on this line was supposed to be happening to this line, but it wasn't. So all of a sudden we're in production, we have to produce X amount of units a week, we couldn't do it. Every time I looked over at the other line, that was the line that was supposed to be my baby, I have to admit, I did detach myself from it. I saw them struggling and went, I could have worked really hard to solve these issues, but I've been told I'm on this line now, so I'm loyal to this line. It was tough work, but at least my little team, we were all in it together and we all kind of knew each other. We all bounced off of each other. I tried to bring in the positive mood and the unicorns and the silliness when I could. Guy that became team leader was a bit shit. We had a few of them that were a bit shit. And in the middle of all of this, there was a girl in another department over there, and I knew she was friends with a girl that I was really good friends with, and I admitted it all of a sudden. I'm like, I really want to talk to her. I should not have bothered. This next episode is where the ugliest side of me came out. What she did to me was so messed up. I've never told tomorrow's episode publicly before. It's going to be tough.
Part 12. My brain snapped.
So this is where everything started to really big time change for me, and it was almost the sequence of events that unlocked the borderline personality disorder demon fully. He was ready to take no prisoners. At this stage, my stepdad had been getting more and more ill with motor neurons disease, and he actually passed away. He had lost so much weight, and he was limited to his kind of chair mobility scooter. Very rapidly couldn't do stuff that he wanted to do, and it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking to see him kind of like deteriorating at the speed that he did. But ultimately, due to motor neurons disease, he ended up in hospital with kind of chest infection and stuff, and couldn't fight it. So that was a lot of kind of sadness and pain that I had to then take into work. Bearing in mind I had been moved away from kind of like the mould shop that I really enjoyed. I've been separated from my friends. I thought it was all okay because I've been promised this line, drifted over to this line, ended up on this line. And I found that ever since losing my stepdad, my job was just not as enjoyable as it used to be. Having a mum and a sister that were teachers, they only ever wanted to talk about teaching. They didn't really want to get involved in conversations about plastic injection moulding and car light manufacturing. But my stepdad did used to wonder what I was doing and ask all the questions and say that as long as I'm happy and all of this stuff. I ended up in a little room with the buffing wheel, and honestly I kind of enjoyed it. It just shut me away for the day. Keep goods in coming in, and I'll keep the reworked work coming out. Happy days. But during all of that, I admitted that there was this girl that worked in the other bit, and I can't lie, I liked looking at her. I was way too shy to talk to her, but a mutual friend was like, oh my god, like, no wait, hang on. She was like, she's just gone through some stuff with an ex and she's really fragile and broken, and you're such a great guy because of your mental health journey and how open you are. I think you guys would be great together. She kind of played devil's advocate and kind of got us to meet at some point and start talking. This girl that I kind of liked was claiming kind of anxiety and some other stuff, which towards the end appeared to be absolute bullshit. But because I was seeing everything through rose-tinted glasses, I was like, yeah, cool, anxiety, it sucks and all, but I'm here for you now, and we'll go do stuff together. We'll get a little group of friends, we'll go do dumb shit. She was, oh yeah, sounds brilliant. Every time we tried to make plans, there was always an excuse, there was always a reason, and it went on for months. And I can't believe I'd seriously let it go on for months of her just like taking the absolute piss. There were points where some of us actually, you know, the plans were pretty much going ahead and we'd got the buses and taxis to where we needed to go, and all of a sudden, oh, she can't make it. I even went down the route of, oh, if it's because of your anxiety, let's make sure it's somewhere you want to go. Let's make sure it's only people that you want there. We'll put you as priority number one. You're planning it all. Whatever you want goes. We'll all stay quiet and we'll do what you want. And that one fell through as well. At work, we would only ever be able to see each other on breaks, and I'd give her a hug and we'd have a good chat, and occasionally we'd kind of text each other in the evenings and stuff. It got to this stage where I just remember being like, we tried to make yet another set of plans, and in the end I just went, do you know what, if it's too much, let's just stop trying to make these plans. It possibly came across a bit shitty, but in my brain I'm like, we're probably putting this unnecessary stress on you, constantly trying to make plans. I don't want to be the cause of your stress, so forget it, we won't do it, as much as it hurts for me, because I'd love to see you outside of work. We've only ever seen each other inside work. So all of a sudden I wake up, I went to message her, something wasn't right, and I thought, let's just check, this is stupid, but I'll look. I'd been unfriended. So there I was trying to kind of work out, wait, hang on, what? This couldn't have been because I said let's not bother trying to make plans anymore, let's just chat and be chill, and you know. That came from a combination place of, yes, I was getting really annoyed and agitated, and it was getting me down that I kept trying to make these plans, but it also came from, I want to look after you, I don't want to add to your misery. I remember then at work, it was horrible on lunch break, and she comes in and she wouldn't even look at me. And then across the room from each other, I did look at her, we did catch a glimpse, and I could see on her face that she wasn't at all who I thought she was, and I was just like, wow, like this is happening. So over the next few days I slipped into the worst depression I've ever slipped into, and it was a real struggle to kind of get through a days of work, like knowing that she was just around the corner and we were done. We weren't friends anymore. She wouldn't even talk to me. Used to get a daily hug. It was all just nothing, completely nothing. It had started to affect my eating and sleeping, so it made work even harder. I just had no energy, I had nothing left to give. I started making mistakes, my brain was absolutely flustered. If I did go to sleep at night, my dreams got very dark. I remember being terrified of my own dreams. They were so violent and gory and just unbelievable. It was like her and anyone before her that had hurt me, and I was like, in my dreams I was getting revenge in the most Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Saw kind of way. It was ridiculous. This was an undeniable moment that something in my brain had just snapped, and the full force of borderline personality disorder was now ready to leap out. Everything building up to it had been kind of feeding it and growing because I didn't know it was in there. It was getting stronger and stronger. I always viewed that event as the catalyst that finally did it. Before meeting her, I was very good at Tim and Scars still. After meeting her, it was just this mess of like, Scars was pretty much in the driver's seat the whole time. I didn't mind. Not like bipolar where the real me was then stuck down here somewhere. I was just like, Scars, you do you. Like, we have every right to be this pissed off. So day by day that sadness turned into anger, and then the anger just came out. So there I am at a job that was starting to eat away at me, having this happen with this girl on the side that really ate away at me, and it's a case of where do I go from here? Because I couldn't quite push her all the way out of my mind by the end of that, and I was still working there for a whole year and a bit after that. So that's going to be next episode is kind of the aftermath of who I was at the end of my time there because of what had gone on. So I'll see you in the next one.
Part 13, getting my BPD diagnosis.
So where this girl had kind of messed me around and then started ignoring me and kind of very much broken me as a person, and I slipped into this sadness with hints of anger, I found out through an inside man the truth of the situation, and yeah, it's messed up. I suddenly found out that she was only using me to get back with her ex, and it was going well getting back with the ex. I'd served my purpose, she no longer needed me, so she just threw me away. To cover her tracks, she had spread the most vile rumours about how I'd done something to hurt her, and I had done this and I'd done something else. It branched very quickly across the whole company, and I just could not believe it. Everywhere I went, there were eyes on me, there were ears. I was just like, no way. I really liked her and I was so good to her, but I was just a pawn in her game. So my dreams got even darker and more violent. My awake thoughts during the day, I looked at her or any of her friends, and I had to really hold it together, because I suppose I couldn't admit really obviously that I knew, because it would start this whole like working out who was the mole and all of this shit. In a way I knew, and in some ways it kind of helped me to get over her, because I'm not being funny, it took me about half a year to fully get over her. It put a bit of a strain on the friendship with the girl that kind of got us talking in the first place, because I'm like, this is your friend, she's done this to me, use your idea for us to start talking. And even now, I consider myself an ambassador for mental health, especially in men. For years, I've been the go-to. I've always been the ears to listen and the shoulder to cry on and the heart that understands. And in so many ways, this mutual friend views herself like that. But in my mind, I'm like, your friend has just done this to me. Your friend claims she's got anxiety, and to me, people with anxiety do not go and do stuff like that. So I really struggled because people hated me based on this complete lie, and it all just spiraled to the point where I'm like, I never knew waking up, am I going to be sad or am I going to be angry? But it was always one of the two. I really hated being at work. Not so much because of the work, even though the work was shit and the management was shit. It was the atmosphere that was now created from these rumours and from, like, do you know what I mean? I was absolutely just like, I don't know what to do. So when I thought, screw it, I need to get myself looked at, it was the best decision I had ever made. So it's about time we dive into borderline personality disorder. What are you? Because to me, getting the diagnosis was great, because as I start to understand what this is, I'm like, I get it, I get why I am the way that I am, I totally understand. And for me, the diagnosis wasn't anything to be ashamed of. It was that missing piece of the puzzle that I'm like, I totally understand. When I started looking back from, like, I understand why my relationships just pre-uni was so messed up. I understand why uni was messed up for me. I understand why I'm now feeling like this right now at this job. It doesn't give her an excuse, or doesn't justify what she did, but I get why I'm feeling the way that I am. So in basic terms, it's probably been hopefully coming up, if I've edited this properly on the screen, kind of what borderline personality disorder is. But that's what it is. It's not quite bipolar. It's not a lot of fun, but it's what I live with. A lot of people in my life don't view me as any different since the diagnosis. Like, it is what it is. It makes a lot more sense than the depression and anxiety, because I'm like, I knew I didn't just have depression and anxiety, I knew there was something else going on up there. So what I've got in this one is BPD is a misunderstood mental illness. People with this diagnosis are often stereotyped as manipulative or crazy. This stigma stops them from seeking help and leaves them feeling alienated from friends and family. It also says it can be known as emotionally unstable personality disorder, EUPD. So this one here says BPD is a personality disorder that involves instability in several areas of life. People with BPD struggle with their emotions, identity, relationships, behaviour and thinking. Not all people with BPD are alike. Having BPD doesn't mean that you're sick. BPD does not make you an unlikable or flawed person. The introduction to this book sums it up in a way that I quite like, and it says, a charming, exciting, intimate, intelligent, fun person suddenly turns mean, sluggish, angry, self-defeating and dismal. Radical change for no obvious reason. What causes the unpredictable ups and downs from fear to rage, intimate intensity to distance, and euphoria to despair that some people experience on a daily basis? BPD, arguably the most common and debilitating of the personality disorders, causes chaos and anguish for both the people who suffer from the disorder and those who care about them. And that brings me on to an interesting point where I've had people ask me if I understand how much of a burden I am and if I understand how much I make them feel bad thoughts, and I'm like, wow, I am not doing it on purpose. That really hurt for me, kind of being told stuff like that by people. Other than my FPs, if you don't know, FPs stands for favourite person or favourite people, and I can't wait. I am going to dedicate the whole episode to FPs, what FPs do to you, what you should do if you're an FP, because I think that's a good point. I've now got the diagnosis, ready to put the stuff behind me and focus on my FPs, so I'm going to explain to you all about FPs, and it's going to be a very happy, good episode, so yeah. Part 14, FPs. So here we are at a happy episode, an FP episode. FP stands for favourite person or favourite people. Quite a lot of mental health issues have FPs. They have people that end up developing FP links, and FPs can be absolutely great. Effectively, as explained in stuff up there, if you're an FP, someone with mental health will latch onto you big time and absolutely love you to pieces and will rely on you quite heavily as well. If you're an FP, don't panic, just enjoy the ride, be there for them, talk to them as much as you can, and for fuck's sake, look after them on their bad days, because we rely on our FPs so much. It's devastating to lose an FP. I've lost FPs before. I think what I find quite funny with FPs is it also means a lot of celebrity crushes. I have had celebrity crushes from as far back as like year 6. It's interesting, I was trying to put a timeline together. I know one of my first big celebrity crushes was actually Miley Cyrus. I used to love her as Miley Stewart in Hannah Montana. I genuinely loved getting home from school and watching that and trying to catch it in the mornings on weekends and stuff as well. Because of my Little Mix and Fifth Harmony stages, I've had like Jessie Nelson as an FP celebrity crush. I've had Camila Cabello as an FP celebrity crush. Being a Disney boy, I liked Descendants quite a lot, so I developed a big crush on Sophia Carson that plays Evie. To the point that one of my Funkos is the Evie Funko still in its box. I take Funkos out of boxes. What are you going to do about it? But this one stays in. I arrived at Hailee Steinfeld as an FP celebrity crush, and she has stuck with me for years now. I absolutely love Hailee Steinfeld, just stupid amounts. Whether you're talking Charlie from Bumblebee, or Emily Junk from Pitch Perfect, Kate Bishop from Hawkeye, or Fetus Haley in Ender's Game, Emily Dickinson. Then there's all her music as well. I've just proper latched onto her, and it's a weird one. It is a case of it's not just a celebrity crush, she is proper like an FP to me, and she just the fact she exists makes everything not as bad as it could be. But there are some drawbacks to being an FP, because like I said, if you're an FP and you ignore the person relying on you, they'll feel so betrayed and stabbed in the back. I don't know if it's just a me thing because of my boys in the past. We always had this rule where we do not ignore each other and we do not leave each other on red. I hate being left on red, so if I'm ignored and left on red by an FP, it can really, really damage me. But shall I talk about some non-celebrity FPs? By default, all of my boys are FPs, or anyone that I have bled with or fought with, just by default ends up just being someone I have ultimate love and admiration for. And obviously family is a given. But I have special love for Katie. Katie is such a weird case for me because we still have never met in person. She's not the only person I've put insane trust in that I've met online, but there's one that I don't talk about because after getting her dad to attack me a stupid number of times, I gave her the final chance to either never do it again or tell me to fuck off and I will go forever, and she told me to fuck off, so I went forever. I met Katie through Facebook, through Harry Potter fan pages, so many years ago. We're talking like GCSEs, I think. The funniest story with me and Katie is we hated each other to start with. She was actually an admin on a Harry Potter page and I was a trial admin, and I was very excited and I had a free weekend, so I was posting a lot. What do you guys want to do? Let's get quizzes, let's get the interactivity going, let's get our page numbers boosted. She had a right go at me for overdoing it. But once we put that behind us, we ended up kind of really sharing our pasts, because obviously at this stage, like, we've both gone through so much. There's this weird, like, unbroken trust between us that we might go several weeks without talking, but we're always there, and then we're almost there for each other's just emotional dump. But like, if you want to send an essay on everything that's going on, get it out, we do that to each other, and we genuinely read what each other have said and we respond. Another one of my FPs is called Andrea. She lives in Romania now. She came over from Romania and we worked together in this plastic injection moulding place that I was talking about. We really clicked and we started talking more and more and more and more. Once we'd added each other, we just carried on talking all through the evening and just all through the weekends. She has to easily be the friendliest, loveliest, most amazing Romanian girl I have ever met. She's gone through some rough times as well. I remember being absolutely devastated because her dad got really ill and she made the decision to go back to Romania. This was like during the start, or during like part of lockdown, so planes weren't flying and stuff. She had to get several boats and all. Oh, it was crazy, like the time it took her to get from England back to Romania through all these different countries. And I miss her so much because she was someone that we could really trust each other. She knew about what this girl that dragged my name through the dirt after using me to get back with her ex. She knew all about that. And she saw my failed attempts at rebounds and trying to get with other girls, and she was always there to comfort me and make sure I was okay and make sure I knew the problem wasn't necessarily me. Saving the best till last, I think everyone that knows me knows who I'm about to mention. Quite often refer to her as my Ginge. There was a time I called her Mum. I have this absolutely amazing friend back where I came from called Tony. Tony with an I, she's a girl, she's not Tony with a Y. I feel like the stars aligned perfectly with us. Like the fact that I met her through a friend that I had met through one of my exes, and I said about my ex that came out as kind of lesbian and bi after over a year together. If I'd never been with her, I'd never met this friend, and if I'd never met this friend, I'd have never met Tony through this friend through her. We realised recently that me and Tony have known each other for 10 years, and I have absolutely loved her to just ridiculous pieces for 7.5 of those years. When I actually got my borderline personality disorder diagnosis, it took me a while, it's a day or two after I started telling my friends. When I got to her, it was ridiculous. She turns around and went, I could have guessed that. She had seen the symptoms in me because she's very good with mental health, and she just thought I wasn't comfortable talking about it, so she was treating me in certain ways that is good to treat someone with BPD. And when she said that, I got so emotional, I just couldn't believe it. I tell Tony everything, absolutely everything, and she's always checking up on me, and that's like an unwritten rule between us, is I won't lie and I won't hide anything from her. The funniest thing is, people in my life that then go on to meet Tony, like Andrea's met Tony and stuff like this, everyone just falls in love with Tony, like everyone just absolutely loves her. She turns around and goes, oh, I don't think I'm all that, and we're all going, you're just amazing. The funniest thing is, I find her like physically, like I think she's beautiful, she's absolutely drop dead gorgeous as well. Sometimes I wonder if it's because of her personality as well, like I just look at her and I just think 10, you're a 10, because the personality is a 10. And I said to her, I think because you have such a beautiful personality, my brain sees just a beautiful person in general. She would turn around and go, oh, but what about when I was fat? And I was like, I've never seen her as fat. And now she's lost some weight. And I'm like, you were already gorgeous before you've lost your weight, and now look at you. In so many ways, Tony set the bar really high, but not in a bad way, because I sit there and go, if she could be this nice and this caring and this judgment free, why can't other girls? Tony doesn't have to fuck anyone over to get high. You know, no one gets used as a stepping stone. I've almost hit this stage where I can't help but compare, and you shouldn't compare, but I'm like, Tony has every reason. She's also had stuff go down in her past. She also has her own mental battles, but she still has the purest heart, and she will always, always be the shoulder to cry on. She'll always be there to listen, no matter what she's going through herself. Yet other people are like, oh, my sister's neighbour's nephew's second cousin's cat's died, so therefore I'm going to be an absolute arsehole towards you for the next 17 days. It's worth bearing in mind what an FP is and all of this for the rest of this series, because there's going to be some other bits and bobs coming up that is interesting. But we will deal with that in the upcoming episodes.
Part 15, decision time.
So now we've done that detour to FPs, it's time to get back to the story. So this girl had not only messed me around, but she had completely warped the truth, dragged my name through the dirt, kind of made me absolutely hate turning up to work every day to feel all the eyes on me. Interestingly enough, you know I said that the team leader was a bit shit and we had a few shit ones. It came to the surface that I should be the team leader. I wasn't too sure at first, but everyone said, nah, you'll be great and we want you to do it. So I went for an interview for it and got it, and happy days. I didn't particularly know what I was doing. There was a lot of just absolutely winging it. Then they took my supervisor away from me, and I genuinely was like, but I don't understand exactly what I'm supposed to be doing every day. It was really annoying because I was running one of the bits of the production line, but I was supposed to be doing so many other things. So I ended up working straight through breaks and giving up half of my lunch just to try and get everything done. I had people keep rocking up to say, oh, we need to add this to your list of responsibilities, you need to do this once a week, you need to do this twice a month, you need to do this daily. And I'm like, I am on this welder, I have to stay in sync with my team, all I can do all day every day is run this, you need to get me someone to run this bit of kit. I got progressively wound up, and every time my supervisor was fully off and people found out, because they were quite intimidated by her, as soon as they found out she wasn't in, they would come and bother me even more, and at one point I had like a line of people. I was covering a second station, so I'm already bouncing around like an absolute lunatic. And I got a guy saying I need to fill out this bit of paperwork, 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 and this bit of paperwork. I had a guy asking if I can do this, if I can do that, if I've got time to read through these 20,000 emails and reply to them all and go and sit at the computer for 5 hours to get that all synchronised, get all the documents up to date. I had another guy turn up with like trial parts, can we have a little go at putting this one together while we're in the middle of production, we're already behind, we need to get stupid amounts out, an unreasonable target. And in my head I remember just thinking, fuck this. It was weighing on my mind for the rest of the day, and I'm genuinely like, I think this is the time that I'm going to give in my notice and be done, because I am going to end up in hospital. I'm already struggling to eat and drink and sleep because of what was going on with the girl, mixed with the fact that my job was stressing me out. Both of them together just like, ah! So I rushed home that evening and was like, Mum, you know, it is on the table that we could move to Gloucester. I was like, should we actually go for it, because this is absolutely ridiculous. I explained to her how rubbish I'd been feeling. She had obviously witnessed that I wasn't eating my tea most evenings. I was just not myself. there's not a lot of pictures from me towards the end of my time there, because I was so unhealthy in terms of I was underweight, I was malnourished, I was so sleep deprived. And in the end I went, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend another day just thinking about it. And as soon as I got to work the next day, I'm like, I still feel the same. I still feel like I could happily be done with this place. I've given them 7 years and all they're giving me every day is just shit in return. I had pretty much 100% made up my mind. I'm like, I think it's time. I'm going to do it. I'm going to send in my notice. I'm going to work out my finances if I can give him my notice straight away, which it turns out I could. Take that risk to get the house kind of all done up and put on the market and sold and move, and then get work again later. So there I was, typing up my notice. I did it. I pressed send. And that's coming next episode.
Part 16, Notice.
Following on from last episode, it was done. My notice was in and I could not wait to go in, because I had threatened it and people were just like, nah, he won't actually do it. And I'm like, I won't, will I? Watch this. So I'm walking to work with this massive grin on my face, being like, I cannot wait. One of the management team was proper like, oh, we should actually talk about this first. And I'm like, there is nothing you can say to make me change my mind. I was like, you could put an extra 0 on the end of my pay and I would still say no. So that had obviously escalated round quite fast, because I'd worked my way up to a team leader and line manager and then gone, I can't be bothered, I'm done, here's my notice, enjoy that. I had a really emotional chat with some of my team and some of my friends around my team, being like, I want you guys to be happy and successful, so as much as I hate my job, I'm not going to go anywhere just yet. But because then a few weeks later everything got worse, I'm like, sorry guys, I've given it my notice, like it's down to you guys from here. I was set to leave at the end of the year, and it was so funny because someone on my team was set to leave the day before me. Another member of my team had been successfully moved off the line, which is what she wanted. It's probably terrible to say, but I found it quite funny to see management suddenly running around like headless chickens, realising that kind of I'd started this snowball effect. There was basically this event just before my notice where half of my team walked out while I think I was on a course that day, and where something that was always a big no on quality, because they wanted to get the parts out, someone had said yes to, and my team were like, for 3 years this has been a no, what the hell? And they weren't happy using it, so they just had enough and they walked out. And that led to my supervisor not coming in the next day, which is when a lot of people were then queuing up to like give me all this extra tasks that I'm supposed to be doing while I'm running a skeleton crew. Giving in your notice to a toxic work environment that knows that they are pushing you way too far is the best feeling ever. They thought they were going to walk all over me forever, and I'm like, notice is in, I'm not undoing it. And conversation started, have you got somewhere to go? What job are you going to then? I'm like, I just don't want to be here anymore. People were like, really? That's a huge risk. And I'm like, the risk would be staying here and ending up having a heart attack or ending up in hospital. I'm like, I've been struggling for months with no support, barely holding it together. I have to do what's best for me, which is getting the fuck out of this shithole. The last month was an interesting one, because all of a sudden it was like, nothing matters. Because my supervisor had decided she had had enough with the line as well. Another supervisor stepped in and I was finally taken off the welder so I could actually start doing some of these other duties. But I was like, you're going to want to get someone in fast, because you're not going to be able to tag me out in just 1 week. I've given a month's notice. I can have the whole month to train someone. Do you understand how much you're making team leaders and line managers do? So we had document after document after document to fill out. We had boards to wipe clean and redo. We had hourly target little trackers to fill in. We had parts coming to the line that were wrong, parts coming to the line that needed reworking, parts I had ordered 3.5 days ago and we were promised 4-hour turnarounds, equipment going bang, people not turning up to work. I'm just sat there thinking, I can't wait till I don't work here anymore. I am counting down the days. So with that being end of the year that I planned on finishing, I gave the month's notice in November to finish in December. My brain's like, oh my god, I'm actually going to have an amazing Christmas. Because obviously Christmas the year before was the one that I had this go down with the girl. I'd got her a gift. I had to then go through returning it. And I was sat with my family at Christmas, and I can't lie, it was depressing, and I just didn't want to be there, and I just wanted to curl up and be asleep. I'm going to get my dates wrong, so I'm going to do some research before posting this, and here's the Christmas that sucked, and here's my termination of employment with that job, just so we know where we are in the timeline. So there we are. Didn't work there anymore. That last day was so funny, I just could not be bothered to do a thing. it ended in such a weird way because I was actually in stores longer than I thought I was going to be, and then all of a sudden I realised, I looked at my phone and went, oh, shift's finished like 3 or 4 minutes ago. And because it was a Christmas finish, the lights started going out. There was like no noise. Some people had already managed to sneak out 3 minutes early. I was just kind of there like, okay, by then, I mean, I don't work here anymore because my shift's finished. I technically need to just vacate the premises. I'm trespassing. Really weird. I just kind of then walked home and didn't really say goodbye to many people right at the end. Obviously, during that last week, people were saying, this is your last week, all the best, blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing how instantly I felt the weight come off of my shoulders, and I felt like this kind of feeling that everything's going to get better, everything's going to be alright. What you have gone through this last year, it would have all been worth it, because look at you now. There was still a lot to get done, because now I'm like, right, I am jobless, and we need to get this house cleaned up, sorted out, photographed, on the market, viewed, sold, and we need to move out, but we can't move out because we need a house to move into in Gloucester, which is quite far away. So I'll tell you all about that in tomorrow's episode.